Welcome to another installation video from Black Diamond and Speed Shop. My name is Eric, and today we're going to be working on our Promax cold air intake hood for the 12 to 17 models. With the popularity of our Promax cold air intake hood for the 18 to 20 models, a lot of you people wanted to update your 12 to 17 model AutoCAD 600s and 800s. So we released a kit so you can update your machine to the newer style cold air intake. Now the advantage of the cold air intake is it allows you to draw cold air directly from the nose of the machine. So it's hidden under the side panel here, on the bottom side, and then on the upper hood. But keep in mind, this would be covered by your plastic hood that's painted. So this is all hidden and protected. And then there's also some air intake vents under what would be the windshield pod. So that'll all be covered up. And then the windshield pod has Frogskins on it as well. So the advantage of this is that you can be running in really deep snow, and if you stuff your front end, I mean the nice cold air intake is great for when the nose is out of the snow, but if you get in some really deep powder, it still allows you to draw air from up by the dash. So you know, your main air flows in front, and then if you stuff the front, then it'll draw it from up top. So this is actually like a 18 to 20 style hood that's all done. The kit that we sell to you comes with the lower airbox piece, which that goes right into the airbox where the throttle bodies are here. There's the lower air intake plenum, the windshield and dash pod. That's, you know, where your speedometer gauge will go into, and that's where the other Frogskin air intakes are. And then there's some various Frogskin air intakes that go onto the hood during assembly. So here's one that we started. This is basically a 12 to 17 model, and what we're trying to show to begin with is just simply where the Frogskins go. So what you're going to end up doing is we're going to send you some templates for the different areas, which you simply put in place. You can see we already did it. We put this template in place and then traced it with a white marker, and then just simply take a drill, and you can just cut various size circular holes, and then once the holes are in place, the Frogskin will be installed in place, just like the finished one you see here. See, the Frogskin covers up the holes there and down below. This will already be done. And then once again on the upper section, once again you just trace the pattern up top, drill some holes, and then the Frogskin covers will just go into place. One little trick that we do is just simply take a torch and torch around the openings, and it basically is like deburring the openings essentially. And see, this side already has been torched, and Bree's gonna do the left side now. So just real quick like that, but like I say, it's just an easy way to deburr the openings essentially. Alright, once the air intake holes are drilled, you'll just take some brake cleaner and a rig and just simply wipe off the old marker lines, which comes off real easily. Now a good way to prepare the surface that the adhesive will be sticking to, if you use the 3M primer number 94, it just works really good. You just put it around the outer perimeter of where the adhesive of the vent cover will be sticking to. It's not required, but it definitely is a little trick that works really well to make that Frogskin stick on extra good. After the adhesive primer's been wiped on, then we'll put on the Frogskins. Make sure to peel the white backing off of it. Just take your time, work your way around the outer perimeter. And the two round Froskins just get mounted on top of the hood up by the handlebar area. So from your stock hood, you're going to remove 4 screws. 2. We'll just get mounted right in front here. And then there's 2 more. There and there. When you tighten up those 2 front screws that you're reusing from your stock hood, just make sure that this is all lined up properly at the same time. When you're installing the lower intake plenum, there is some holes that need to be drilled. You can see the fasteners on the side here. You have to drill 2 holes, 1 on each side of the upper hood plenum. And we'll also be drilling a hole to hold the corner part of the intake plenum as well, 4 each side. So just remove the 3 clips, and then we're going to mark the hood with the Sharpie to drill the holes. After the 3 holes are drilled out, we install the retainer clips. And tighten up the 3 screws to hold the lower air intake plenum on. Now you can see that the lower air box is installed and the lower air intake plenum. Alright, we need to seal up the bottom of the air intake plenum, and we found this Dynatech Black RTV silicone to work really well. And the reason is it just sticks very good to the surface. We tried some other silicones, and you can try an RTV Black and see what happens, but we just found this Dynatech Black RTV silicone to work very well. can see he's just gently smoothing the silicone out. So where the air temp sensor normally goes will actually get repositioned in the front air box under the hood, which I'll show you that later on in the video. In the meantime, just simply take some black silicone and silicone it up. In the fastener kit, you can see there's the 4 push pin retainers, and then there's the well nut, which will go in the nose of that hood pod. Alright, part of fastening down the windshield pod, we're going to be putting a well nut in the top of the hood. So you just drill a 3/8 hole right at the very end of that indentation there. I put the well nut in and then put the gold washer on top. The windshield pod set into place. And then you screw down the front. And you need to do the front first because in order to line up the 4 holes in the back that we need to drill, the nose needs to be done first. Alright, now we're going to drill out the 4 holes for the 4 fasteners in the back. So for the wiring harness, we need an opening for the harness to come through the bottom, under the dash pod area. So everybody's gonna there's a slot for the harness to go through. So now we're going to put the gauge into the dash pod windshield. It's just a matter of taking the stock gauge out of the brackets. It's just some 7mm nuts there. You can see we already loosened them up ahead of time. And then the nuts that hold the bracket there are 8mm and 10mm. We've already taken this one off. This is basically the retainer that holds the gauge in the back side. So you just simply put the gauge into the pod, put the retainer on the back, and then put the nuts on and snug them up. After the gauge has been installed, then we'll put the ignition switch in and accessory plug in. We give you an O-ring to put on the switch, and we do that to just kind of take up the slop. So it has a nice snug fit with the O-ring on. And then push the ignition switch in from the back side. Put the nut on and then just snug it up. Not too tight of course because that's just plastic threads. And then the accessory plug in just simply pushes in from the front. And then the lock nut in the back, which you can just tighten up by hand. Alright, so we'll be relocating the air temp sensor, and when you do that, you need to remove, basically cut the wires from the factory hood harness. So you can see we've actually already cut the black and blue wire there already. And you want to tape those off. You can see what it looks like once it's been removed, and we just simply stripped the end. And then that is the sensor, which we will be putting into the airbox. All right, now before you put the windshield pod on, make sure you hook up the harness again. And then before you can put the windshield pod on, you'll see that we have notched out on the hood panel on both sides. And that's just to make some clearance on each side for the windshield pod to sit into place. Basically just to clearance that side area. You'll see where we set it on there. So you can see in the side I always had a notch out to make some clearance for the windshield pod. After that's done, then you just put in the windshield darts in the back, like we reviewed earlier, to hold everything in place. All right, looking from the bottom side of the hood, you can see that the factory hood panels have been reinstalled on the colder intake setup. We did silicone this area before, but when you put the hood panel on, there's this clip on each side. And a lot of times when you push that clip in, it'll push this intake plenum down or away. And so once everything's in place, there's a good chance you may have to just kind of re-silicone this side and the other side once again, just to make sure you got a good seal. So we're going to be talking about relocating the air temp sensor into the air box down by the throttle bodies. Stock, they're mounted up on the hood, close to the handlebars. And when you go to the cold air intake hood, or just even in general, it's not even a bad idea to relocate the air temp sensor to the air box, just because the motor seems to run a little cleaner that way, because it's getting a more accurate temperature of the air going into the motor directly. So basically we just drill a 1/2 inch hole and then 2 3/16 holes on each side for the air temp sensor. And then the sensor will just simply pop into place. And then if you remember, we cut off from the headlight harness where the air temp sensor was before. We cut the lead and now we've relocated it down. This is the ECU, factory ECU plug-in, and you just need to find, there's a black with a blue stripe, and then blue with a black stripe. Find them in the harness there, and then just simply solder them in place, and then tape them out. After that's been done, you can just attach the plug-in for the air temp sensor to the harness, and you can see that it's completed. We usually just keep the sensor right in the middle in between the throttle bodies there. Once that's done, you can just reconnect to your ECU and hook everything back up. So now you can see the whole colder intake hood is done. This is for the 12 to 17 models, already carry 800s of course, and 600s, 14 to 17. Some of the key benefits to this colder intake hood is a lot less weight. You actually drop 9 pounds of weight. And the main reason is you're losing your stock headlight. We do offer a real nice little easy LED light that just simply mounts, universal mount right there. You can adjust the height on it. We did dyno test this colder intake hood, and it was consistently 2 to 3 more horsepower than stock. But I'll tell you, just when you're driving this snowmobile out in the mountain, you definitely can tell a difference here, because you're not getting that hot air intake track of air coming back from the handlebars all across the pipe and into the throttle bodies. It's drawing the air right from the front and going directly right into the throttle bodies. So you'll definitely notice a really nice improvement in throttle response and just general horsepower increase. So there you have it. There's our whole Promax colder intake hood for your 12 to 17 model Arctic Cats. If you have any questions, just give us a call, 507-263-2244, or hit up our website at www.bd-extreme.com. It's BD-XTREME.com. Thank you.